Okay. All right, we should be live. Just gotta wait a second because I have to sync these two together. There's like a 10-second delay between.
So don't look at Facebook or I'll be all confused.
What's that?
I said don't look at Facebook or I'll be all confused.
Yeah, don't go on Facebook because for some reason it says that we're live, but it's not communicating to Facebook. So we'll kind of see here what's going on. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. All right. It says that we are sort of online. Trying to get this to connect. There we go. Perfect. All right. Good morning, Jill. Jill Walsh. For those of you who don't know Jill Walsh, Jill has a very long background as an endurance athlete. I mean, you used to run marathons back in the day. You know, you've done all kinds of stuff. So good morning, Mother. So what was it, 2012 or 13 you did Ironman Lake Placid?
In 2012.
2012. And that was that the first year, Jill Walsh, you have MS?
Yes, I do.
When were you diagnosed with that?
I was diagnosed in 2010.
2010. And then in 2012, you took on, you know, you do Ironman. And I remember you were working with Brandy Boyansky at the time. And that was a year we had, I think we had like 15 people going up for Lake Placid. We had a big group from Q2 Multisport. We had some struggles during training camp. And
yeah,
from everything from hydration to extreme. We had extreme heat on one of the days. I think it was on Sunday. It was like 90 degrees. You know, that was an interesting year. So tell us a little bit about. I mean, you as an athlete with MS, you did. You know, you did Ironman. And I know Lori Oliver, one of our athletes, was your assistant getting in and out of the water, right?
Yes, yeah. Well, actually, all day long. She helped me all day long. Long day for her.
Yeah, and
very long day.
Everything. So, how did that kind of like? Where did that idea come from? And then, kind of morph into like what now? I mean, you're a two-time Paralympic silver medalist, as well as, I don't know, I said yesterday, I think like a 7-time world champion. It seems like every other day you get a new world champion jersey.
Yeah, only a 3-time world champion. How did I get into triathlon? I have a group of women friends that we would go hiking every year up in the Adirondacks. And one year must have been, well, I think it was 2009 actually. We were up there hiking and I didn't really know what Ironman was. And we were staying at a place and the road access was closed because Ironman was going on. And I went down there and I saw all the bikes and we had to walk out to the road and watch everybody go by. And I just thought, oh, this is really cool. I had really no idea. This is really cool. And I went home, and that weekend they announced that Syracuse was having the 70.3, and it was like almost destiny that I sign up for that, and with the goal of completing an Ironman. And so that's how that progressed. What was the rest of your question?
And then, so talk a little bit about. I mean, that Ironman was pretty amazing because your that January was it in I want to say it was like in January you were bedridden, right?
Yeah, no, actually it was Christmas Eve day. Yeah, the 24th of December, I had started into a relapse, and a couple days later I couldn't even walk. In January, I really wasn't walking. And yeah, I met with my doctor, John Parker, and we were talking, in his mind, I'm pretty sure he was thinking there's no way she's ever going to finish this. And I'm saying, okay, so what do I need to do to get on my bike? Like on a trainer. So that's when I first started looking into what ways could I adapt what I'm doing to help me, because I was left with foot drop, which is the inability to lift my foot up and down after that relapse on one side. Yeah, so I was working with Brandy and John, and he would see me every month, and yeah, let me put it this way. At the end, when your coach writes your race plan for Ironman, my race plan was 16 hours and 15 minutes. That's not a race plan. That's usually somebody's day gone horribly wrong to take that long. But I don't do well in the heat, which is typical with people with MS. And if it was going to be hot, we didn't know what it was going to be. I would just have to do things slowly. And because of the foot drop and the braces I was wearing, that the run would be more of a walk, which really bothered me because I was a runner. I came from a running background. Cycling was my weak link. And but on that day, I don't know what happened. The stars absolutely aligned. And it was a blistering hot day, and I just followed Brandy's race plan, and I finished in 16 hours and 16 minutes. So it all worked out. Like yeah, there's probably a lot of reasons why I shouldn't have finished that, but somehow it all just worked out on that day.
And to know you, I think it was either it must have been 2014 when we were up there. I think it was me, you, maybe Rebecca and Maureen that year. The year that you tried to get us all burned down in Lake Placid Brew Pub when you ran out when the fire alarms went off and left the rest of
Well, excuse me, we're in an old wooden building. I smell smoke and the fire alarm goes off, so I get up and exit the building, which every responsible adult should do.
No one left. We're all like, where'd Joe go? But I remember that year you were like, boy, I kind of every year at Ironman, when you're a spectator, you get the itch again. Whether you've done it in the past or not, you just sit there and you're like, you know what? It was kind of fun. And I remember you were like, yeah, maybe I'll do that. And then you ran in the last with, I think it was with Kelly or Diane. You ran the last like eighth of a mile, and you're like, you know what? I'm good. I'm not doing this again.
Yeah.
And you've moved on to, I would say, bigger and better things.
Different things.
Different things. So what are you doing now?
Well, I am on the U.S. Paralympic cycling team. I have been since 2014. In 2013, I signed up for this epic fundraising ride down the coast of California. You start in San Francisco and you ride to San Diego in 7 days with this organization, Challenge Athletes Foundation. And where we live, Ed, you can go out and ride for 50, 60 miles and not really stop at any traffic control device and just ride. And my balance was really starting to get off. But in California, you have to stop all the time. And every time I'd have to stop, I couldn't unclip. I'd fall off my bike. It was just the most miserable 7 days of my life. I probably should have flown home, but I didn't. And when I was there, I saw a guy riding a three-wheel bike. If someone prior to me seeing that had said, do you want to ride an adult tricycle? I would have been like, no. I would have just been, my cycling is done. I'm just done with it. But I saw him riding it, real interesting guy. Great backstory on his end too. And so I didn't talk to him during those 7 days because I was pretty miserable. But when I got home, I sent him an email. I said, can you tell me about the bike you ride? And he said, well, actually, it's a regular bike, and you drop this conversion axle in where your rear wheel sits, and it just gives you some more balance, so that whole clipping, unclipping stopping, starting doesn't really come into play. He said, I have an axle. They're made in England. They're hard to get. I'll loan it to you because he had an extra one, but you have to agree to race. So I emailed him back. I said, oh, I'd love to borrow it, but I'm not interested in racing. Thank you. He wrote back and said, clearly you didn't understand. I'll loan it to you if you race. He said he's trying to get people riding trikes in the US. And he said, I know you're strong. I could see you're very strong. You're just on the wrong kind of bike. And I think you'd be good. And we don't really have women who are competitive internationally. So I said, sure, send me the axle. And really had no intention of racing it. But actually I think it was April, all my friends, all the crazy women that I cycle with, we went up to Lake Placid and I brought this trike with me, and no one really knew how I would be, how it would work. It's kind of different. It's wider. Anyway, they kind of like made a little cocoon around me as we're riding it. Yeah, about 20, 25 miles into it, they're like, yeah, she's fine. We can drop her now. And then it was like, I got home from that weekend in Placid and I'm like, I might try racing this. And so I went to the U.S. Para National Championship, which was in Madison, Wisconsin that year. And I won my classification. I mean, there was only 3 people in my group, but I showed that I was fast enough to be competitive internationally. And like since then, I've just like taken off. So yeah, it's been an interesting ride to say the least.
Yeah. Especially when it comes to that rear axle. So yeah,
he's saying that because it's a little tippy when you turn. Like it's opposite of riding a bike. You have to keep your inside leg down. Someone says like driving a snowmobile. I don't know. I've never done that, but it's definitely different than riding a 2-wheel bike.
It is. The first time I rode your bike was at 73. Come down in the dog park, and they had this paved walking path. You could basically ride it with your eyes closed. And I got on your bike and boom, right off the path. I was like, I can turn this thing. It's a lot harder to ride than you think, especially when you're used to riding a regular 2-wheel bike. But I mean, now you've been literally all over the world. Obviously, you went to the Paralympics down in Rio. You were slated to go to the Paralympics this year. And I know your training has changed drastically, partly because of that, because the Paralympics are not going to be held. So what are I saw the video your daughter did.
Oh my gosh, that was funny.
Maybe a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
You're still racing, but everything is done virtually now, correct?
Yes. Yeah. In fact, just yesterday I was going through something in my computer, a file, and I saw all my race dates. I make a list, and long story, send it out to my family when I'll be gone. And it's like this week I was supposed to be in Belgium at the World Championship. So like everything has changed. Everything just got put on hold. Yeah. So, I mean, I thank God they have good indoor platforms to ride because I've been doing a lot of that. I do have a compromised immune system, so I really haven't been going out. So I don't know what the result of it will be. It's really very different. It's hard. It is a little harder to motivate yourself when you're in your basement, but the team has had a couple of group rides, and every week we have a virtual time trial where people from all different countries come and ride it, but definitely not the same.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, is how do you stay motivated? Especially one of the biggest things a lot of athletes run into now is a lot of people will use a race as a means of motivation. While I'm doing Ironman, that I'm motivated to get to the starting line, to get to the finish line. How do you stay motivated when you don't have that event that you've been dreaming about or planning about?
That is really hard. Like I had to do a reset with my coach. Like we stopped, like we were supposed to have a selection event in April to see who goes to the World Championship, and you could actually have won your seat for Tokyo at that. And then we also were the end of June this month. We were supposed to have a selection event for the Tokyo Games. So we had to reset where our goals were. So that was actually, it was kind of nice because we backed off and just did more endurance things. But mentally, took me a couple weeks to get into it. And it's still hard because we don't know when the next event is. It probably won't be until next year. Probably, I'm hope. Well, they haven't said yet. I'm thinking that it will kind of mimic what's been going on, what was supposed to happen this year. I mean, last time I rode outside, we had a national team camp in California in the end of January, beginning of February. So that's the last time I was out on the road, really. Yeah, it's hard to keep going, but I'm glad that my coach and I talked about it and how challenging it would be to keep pushing in. So we kind of like backed off on the intensity and went more for endurance, like we were in a different phase of the training.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's, even, like right now, I don't think any race is going to happen this year. Just, because of the fear of the unknown, more or less. I don't know. There's no way you can prepare a social distancing event when you have more than 1,000 people anywhere. So I don't know. It'll be very interesting, but one of the other things that I always look at is finding that motivation is like, all right, well, I'm doing it because one, I have to do it, and I mean, and like you have to keep moving because as soon as you stop moving, the rate of MS can progress. So the more active you are, the more to an extent. Obviously, if you overtrain, overreach, then you can have adverse reactions as well. So to summarize, you are a 2-time silver medal Paralympic cyclist. Well, a cyclist and time trial is what your 2 medals are in, correct?
Yeah, the road race and the time trial. That's the only 2 events that I qualify, that I can participate in.
And then, so tell me a little bit about just your experience in Rio, because we've talked about it. What would you say was like your biggest takeaway from the whole Paralympics, aside from obviously 2 silver medals?
I guess I have to tell the story of the opening ceremony. I had signed up to go to the opening ceremony, and everything when you're in an athlete village takes a long time. The transportation, you have to stay in the security bubble that they've made for you. Everything is lengthy. And so I had signed up to go. So we had to say it was at 7 o'clock at night. We had to start getting ready at like 2 o'clock to go load onto the buses to be taken to the venue. And it's so humid and hot there. And we have the long sleeve wool blazers on and jeans and these comfortable shoes. And because everybody has to be dressed. Okay, there's 2 things. This is actually the first thing, but there's another really cool thing I'll tell you about after all the free swag. But so anyway, so we're waiting. So we finally get to the venue and it's hot and there's not like places to sit. And we are like in a staging area. So we don't know what's happening in the stadium. They didn't have like closed circuit TVs. The year prior, I had gone to the Pan American Games in Toronto, and that was awesome. And it's like a mini games because it's just the Americas. But when we went to the opening ceremony, like the stadium was maybe like 30–40% full. So it really wasn't that exciting, if even that full. It was nice, but it was, not like wow. And so in my head, I was thinking that the opening ceremony of the games would be the same. So it gets our turn. We went in the middle because it's the Peruvian alphabet. So we entered the stadium like in the middle. So they take us, it's like a football stadium, and we're following the path and going in. And when we entered the stadium, like every single seat was full. All you could see was cell phones taking your, like it literally took the breath out of my body. Like I couldn't breathe. It's like, this is the second biggest stage in the world. The first is the Olympics opening ceremony, and the second is the Paralympics opening ceremony. And I just like, I couldn't breathe. Like I just like all of a sudden it hit me. Here I am dressed like a USA athlete and I'm representing my country, And yeah, well, of course, then I started to cry. I mean, that was just like, that was the most memorable moment. Like I just wasn't expecting it to be that big. And here I am representing my country. And yeah, it's a crazy out of body experience. And you're walking around that oval and yeah, you've watched it on television, but you never think that you yourself are going to be in it. So that would
Especially,
probably
I
be
mean,
my,
you and I have talked about it in personal training sessions. And I think when we went to Oswego that one year, we talked about it a little bit. Like, it's not like you grew up. You know, most Olympic athletes are under the age of 22. This
yeah.
was, 4 years ago.
So Ed, you're going there. You're going there on my age, aren't you? You're just right.
Well, I mean, you're a mother of, you've got a couple of kids and they're in college. I think your daughter was still in high school then, right? She was junior
Yeah.
in high school. Because I remember when we talked about it, the coolest thing for her was that you got to meet Barack Obama or Michelle Obama.
Michelle, like her high school did a thing on me when I got back. And my daughter was like, she got to go to Rio, watch me race, tour all the things, and that was okay. But then when she found out that Michelle Obama gave me a hug, that was it. I had street cred in her mind.
I mean, and it's a pretty amazing story because, a lot of people could take a diagnosis like you were given and just kind of like, accept it and adjust their life accordingly. And, you had other, at the time it started as just other goals. And then that even morphed into new goals, new aspirations. And, you're not going to let something like MS prevent you from living a complete and full life. And I think that that's the most impressive thing out of all of this is that, even with, you're always finding a way to adapt and overcome instead of becoming complacent.
Yeah.
I think that that's one of the most important things that anyone can learn from you. That your hard work, your motivation, even in times of uncertainty like this, you're still on your bike, you're still doing your workouts, maybe slightly different, but you're still getting them in, and you're still working to become a better version of you and preparing for whatever event comes next. And I think that that's just incredible. So, I think that everybody watching should look up, Joe Walsh, follow your athlete page on Facebook. Because I mean, there's a
Well,
ton.
I don't really use yeah, I have a Wikipedia page. I don't know how that happened, but my daughter said, Mom, you have a Wikipedia page.
That's awesome. See, you're on Wikipedia. I told Beth yesterday we were talking about something, and I told her I was like, somehow I'll end up in Wikipedia. I don't think it was for something good, but usually it isn't. So, all right. Well, we're gonna wrap this up. So, if you could tell anyone right now something to help them stay motivated and stay focused during these uncertain times, what would it be?
Wow. It's just, you just have to believe that we'll get through this and we will get through this. So you just keep going. Your destination hasn't changed, just the time frame a little bit. So let's just keep working the way or the way you're being told to do through your coaches or whatever, and it will all come together. You have to believe that you can achieve it.
Awesome. All
Not
right.
very good words of advice, but
Yeah. Hey, it works. It's true though. I mean, if again, you can sit back and think that this is the way of life for the rest of your life, and you can sit back and accept it, or you can challenge it and say, no, I'm going to continue to be better. And I think that you're a living example of that at
well,
the
thank you.
35. All right, Facebook. Maureen Kenyon says hello. Speaking of,
Oh, I miss everybody.
I know. Eventually, one day, maybe by the time that Beth Lancer's polar plunge comes around, we'll be able to go outside.
Oh my gosh, of next year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
Okay.
We'll talk soon. All right. Bye.
Bye.